It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Tetsuya the Wise.
If Tails were allowed to age into adulthood, would he become something like a good counterpart to Eggman? Someone who makes multiple machines and gadgets to help the world instead of conquering it? Sort of like an Iron Man type figure?
I think Iron Man might be the most apt, because I can't see Tails sitting in a lab and just making stuff. He is an adventurer at heart. He likes to go outside and explore and to fly and to do. So going out and doing good things with the assistance of his tech and bringing those advancements to others to benefit their ways of life, I could see that working.
Yeah. The difference is he doesn't start out as kind of a jerk. Like,
he's also not an alcoholic, so...
Well, I mean...
It's not exactly one-to-one.
Tails is not the billionaire playboy philanthropist Fox. Don't know where he gets his funding from, but other than that... If Mario used the Chaos Emeralds and got a super form, would he be Super Mario or Super Duper Mario?
Super Mario! Ha ha!
Super Mario. Extra super. Hyper Super Mario. I don't know. There's too many. I just want to see, yeah. Chad is asking, does his mustache glow? I mean, yes, obviously. Absolutely. What would be the perfect date for Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Rouge, Eggman, Blaze, Omega, Amy, Shadow, and Jewel?
We can't keep doing
Can you just say
12. You know what? They're all together.
How about all at once?
Polyamorous ball. Okay? You want your ships? Here you go. It's a cruise ship. Bon voyage.
Except Tails. Tails is not involved in this. Tails is off by himself because that would be awkward.
Philanthropist playboy.
Yeah, he's over there. He's away from this. Oh boy. Put Tails over there just to make things less awkward. Less awkward, not completely not awkward, but you know. And that's the perfect date, all of them together. What are they doing? I don't know.
Shuffleboard, it's a cruise ship.
Okay. Yes, that's true. I don't know. Maybe some of them want to play some cornhole. I don't know.
Kyle.
What? It's cornhole. It's a family game.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on consuming media from quote-unquote problematic creators? Boy, this is whiplash question. Some people would say that there's a moral obligation not to financially support certain creators by interacting with their work. I won't go into the list. However, others argue that due to there being no true ethical consumption under our economic system, trying to be morally conscious about what you consume is an exercise in futility. There's also the saying, separate the art from the artist, but that also comes with its own arguments.
Yeah, and I don't have a good answer for this,
Nope.
To be perfectly honest. There is no separating the art from the artist because their art is an expression of themselves. And whether or not you interpret it differently does not change the fact that it originates from somewhere. And the supporting of it in turn will support them and whatever they choose to support with their funds, which is some unfortunately heinous stuff. But at the same time, there are authors that were highly influential for me growing up, and I would love to recommend their books, but I don't want to recommend the books because I don't want them to get a penny from it anymore. I think the best answer I can come up with is, and this is incredibly tepid, is do the best you can. Be aware of the media that you consume. And if there is something that you enjoy, but it has a problematic origin, then do what you can to offset that. I'm not saying that every time you buy a book by, author A, you have to donate the same amount to charity B. Not a bad rule of thumb, but it's not like it's a completely equalizing equation. It's, do what you can to support those who are in need of support and be mindful of what you consume. And when you find out that the author is problematic, if they are, use that as a new way to scrutinize the work. Are there biases in there that you took for granted and has colored your own perception? Or if you have perceived it in a completely different way, how do you make that counter argument? How is that a different expression that you can, push within discussion circles? Author A believes this, but their work could be seen as promoting this instead. And thus they are hypocrite and should be ignored. Ha ha! Take that, internet. I don't know. Be aware and be active, I guess, is the best huge broad stroke answer I can give. But there is no easy or simple solution.
Hoist the mainsails, me hearties. Would you be willing to be paid to interact and give your thoughts on certain media, like getting paid to do a let's play or review a TV show or movie?
Yeah. I would personally be open to that. Not right now, though, because we are unfortunately woefully behind on our BumbleKast Mini obligations as of this recording, let alone the other projects I have going on. So if you want to work something out, you can always message the BumbleKast or whatever. Go through my agent Kyle, since he handles everything else. I don't know. But the core idea sounds fine.
I don't get paid enough to be your agent for real.
How about my internet doorman? Does that work?
Okay, fine. Whatever.
But if we were to do actual full-on review or something of a TV show, that would require watching it and analyzing it, and I would hope put together something a little more involved than what we usually do with the BumbleKast, and that would take much more time and resources and probably funding. So the principle of the idea sounds fine. I just don't see it as something we can take on in the immediate future.
Yeah. All right. I don't often engage with a lot of Superman media, but one of my favorite stories is What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which examined Superman's place in the early 2000s of comic books by having him face off against the Elite, a team of vigilantes that kill supervillains and cause mass destruction. It asks the question of, where does Superman's traditional heroism and belief in a better world belong in an age where superhero comics are becoming increasingly grim, cynical, and morally gray? My question is, how would you write a Sonic story like that? Like maybe analyzing Sonic's place in modern gaming, or maybe how the comics contrast with what's currently going on in mainstream comics?
I don't think I'd want to approach either of those because they do not reflect in Sonic necessarily. Sonic has become its own, arguably its own genre. It has stood the test of time and just been itself, a kind of microcosm within the gaming industry. A Sonic game can mean a lot of things, but you come to it with certain expectations rather than a action platformer, which is a much broader type of thing. Sonic has taken cues from other popular media, but has never been directly steered by it necessarily. I don't know if he as a franchise has much to comment on video games or comics on a whole.
Yeah.
So I don't see that as a fit myself.
All right, Starline Isekai time. This time he ends up coming face to face with Gus Fring. Is Starline the danger, or is he cooked like the chicken from Los Pollos Hermanos?
Let's just say that when you see that big canister of pink goo, the Isekai adventures continue.
Oh, no.
It does well for a while. It's just Starline has this habit of thinking he knows better than the boss.
Always.
And is not going to let that go very far. All it takes is one wrong word and one sharp box cutter, and
it's true. Starline Isekai double feature. The Doctor gets sent to the bottom of Mount Ebott. What happens? Do the residents of the underground break through Starline's cold heart, or would he prefer grinding them all into experience?
Here's the thing. He totally thinks he's playing Flowey this entire time. he will, lead a bloody swath throughout New Home, but ultimately, he's going to get Floweyd.
Yep. Sans Undertale time.
Oh, he's going to get silenced so hard.
Oh, he gets dunked on, all right. Big ass, does he even get to see the secret lab?
Yeah. I mean, he's still a formidable adversary when he tries. It's just... Yeah, maybe he gets stonewalled by Sans. And then that's how the isekai adventure continues, since he finally just gives up and disappears into the void.
I thought he would get undined. I mean...
it would be brutal, but I think he'd manage to win. Because the whole part of that fight is the tragedy of her loss.
Yeah, I suppose. Or maybe he just stays with Toriel, because that's all he needed was someone who loved him.
He critiques her pie making, and the isekai adventures continue.
Oh no! Oh no! If a Skies of Arcadia remake were to happen and have full voice acting, who would you get to voice the cast? You don't have to say the specific name of an actor. You can just say something like, I'd have X character voiced by whoever does the voice of Kabita from Gurren Lagann.
I don't... It's been so long since I've watched dubbed anime. Yes, I'm that.
You don't even have to say it's like dubbed anime, Ian. You can just say like, oh, from this cartoon or, from something.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to think of that because then it's like I'm trying to think of pre-established characters with a voice that could kind of equate to the Skies cast. And yeah, I'm being pedantic. I know, but I can't think like that. That, and I am already super biased to like the voices I have in my head.
Yeah.
The reads that I interpreted, and that's never going to match anyone ever. And that's my own baggage.
Yeah. I think that's some of the problem people had with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Even though the voices in that are extremely good and fit the characters very well.
Yeah.
But there's definitely still some like, that's not the way that I interpreted that line, but oh well.
Like I remember if you plugged the old Dreamcast disc into a CD player to prevent it from messing up, it had an audio track at the start.
Yeah.
That had the cast saying, "What are you doing? This is a game disc. Don't put it in a music player."
Oh, it had a unique one? Usually it was just a generic one. Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
No, it's Vice Aka and Fina saying, "What are you doing? This is a game disc. Put it back in the Dreamcast so we can continue our adventure," or something like that. And I remember being less than enthused with the line reads on that one and being kind of glad it was relegated to just the little sound bites that the game had. So
yeah.
But a remaster is going to have a whole new voice cast anyway. It would be new reads and whatnot. For Vice, you would need someone who has that youthful enthusiasm with an underpinning of budding grace and heroism. Someone who can do bombastic and sincere with equal believability. Yeah, Eika would need to have someone who can be, I don't want to say shrill, but vivacious, very energetic, very personality driven, but not in that grating sort of way. You'd have to find that endearing mark, and it's a hard sell. Fina needs to have that soft-spoken, etherealness, but have some gravitas to it, so it isn't just like the breathy waif, which just gets tiresome.
Yeah.
And this is me, but I feel like Galcian just needs to be a whole new voice, because I really didn't like his, weird scratchy voice that they gave him. He needs to have something like deep and booming and commanding. That was the one that just never really stuck.
Yeah. I gotta circle back around real quick because my favorite one of those. Don't insert the disc into a regular CD player. It's completely unrelated, but it was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You stick it in a PS1 or you stick it in a regular CD player, and it's like, this is a PlayStation Black disc. It's Alucard saying this. Please do not play it in a normal CD player. And then it just busts into this awesome freaking song. It's like, I mean, all right. It's like this freaking awesome like 90s style dance tune. Yeah. song rules. Oh, it's good. It's good stuff. Look up the Castlevania Symphony of the Night bonus track. It's very, very cool. It's very funny. There's a lot of all ages media out there that tackles topics and subject matter that would be considered too mature for younger audiences, albeit often indirectly and with a lot of metaphor. As someone who writes all ages media, when would you say a certain topic is off limits, even if you try to be less direct about covering it? For example, I don't see Sonic and Friends tackling Reaganomics anytime soon.
There is no one singular answer because what is acceptable and what is not is going to vary from person to person. For me, I feel like it needs to be able to make its point within the scope of the allegory without losing too much of the message. And it needs to be something that the characters can actually address and deal with. Like we'll take Metal Virus as an example, because you have questions of mercy and disease control and selflessness and reactions to fear that all work within the context of these fantasy robot zombies and these talking colorful animals bouncing off of them. And it's all resolved because of magic gemstones and the goo being beamed into the sun. There is still high fantasy to be had there, but the underlying principles are universal enough that they can still fit within the context. Something more complex like economic theory or deeper philosophical or theological questions that have no real answer. Like, how do you address the idea of, is there a God in Sonic? When you have Sage saying, yeah, it probably is out there. It had a symbol and everything. I mean, it's not the same. The gods of fantasy are not the same as the gods of reality, which actually shape people's motivations and give them inspiration and strength. So, I don't know. I feel like
Sonic has killed a lot of gods, to be fair.
Mm.
But I mean, they call themselves gods. I don't know. How often are they actually gods?
There's a few, but I feel like it shouldn't be completely avoided. Kids are smarter and more mature than some folks give them credit for, and they have to learn from somewhere. They cannot grow and mature without material for them to learn and grow from. So finding ways to engage them and challenge them without scarring them is tricky business. But I do feel like it is necessary, not just even like a good idea. I think it is necessary to give them that engagement so that they can tackle it. And there's also whole other avenue where it's not avenue. There's a whole other aspect where they should not be engaging in this media alone. They should not, just be given this challenging bit of kids media and told, okay, consume, form opinion, bye. Like their parents, their guardians, whoever should be engaging with them and helping them tackle these questions and interpreting this material. It shouldn't just be there on its own. I should not be teaching moral values through Sonic. That is not the ideal.
Well, I mean, there is some morals to Sonic, though.
Yeah, and that's fine. But, there should be less of a question of, is Ian doing this right? And more of, what are you reading to your kid?
Yeah.
But I feel like we've gotten a little far afield of the core of the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing. I don't know. I think that Sonic may not tackle Reaganomics anytime soon, but it would probably tackle Seganomics. Why do you sigh at me, Ian?
Thank you so much to Tetsuya the Wise for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. If you want one of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.